Hey there, and welcome. Have you ever been part of a group that just clicked? One that gets incredible things done, while another one just feels like it's stuck in the mud, spinning its wheels. Well, today, we are going to unlock the hidden dynamics of what makes great groups tick.
So what is it? Really, what's that secret code that makes some teams so successful? Is it just luck? Or maybe it's about having the right people or the perfect project? Actually, it's none of those. It's a toolkit of observable dynamics, and in the next few minutes, we're going to break it all down for you. All right, let's grab the first tool in our kit, because before we can even think about building a great team, we have to understand the fundamental difference between a group and a team. And trust me, they are not the same thing at all.
Yeah, the differences here are pretty stark when you lay them out. A group can be pretty casual, right? Think of a few people studying together for an exam. The goal is kind of general, the roles are informal. But a team, that's like a finely tuned machine. Think of a sports team in the finals. Their goal is crystal clear, the roles are explicit, and this is the big one. They are completely interdependent. They literally cannot win without each other.
So, how can you spot the difference in your own life? Well, here's a super quick and easy test for you. Can you point to written goals? Can you name the assigned roles? Is there an agreed-upon process for how you'll all work together? If you're nodding yes, congratulations, you're looking at a team.
Okay, so we've got the whole team versus group thing down. Now let's peel back another layer because this is where it gets really fascinating. We're talking about the specific roles people play. In every single group, people take on these invisible jobs that will literally define its success or its failure.
And it turns out there are really three types of roles happening all at once. First, you've got your task roles. Those are the people who get the job done. Then you have social roles, which, keep the peace and make sure everyone gets along. And then you have the individual roles. And these are the ones that can often get in the way.
So first up, let's talk about the drivers, the task roles. These are the actions that physically push the project forward. You've got the initiator, the person who says, hey, let's brainstorm 3 ideas. You have the information giver who shows up with the data. And then there's the coordinator who weaves everyone's part into a coherent whole. Honestly, without these roles, nothing actually gets done.
But just as critical, you have the glue of the group, the social roles. There's the encourager, who makes people feel heard and valued. The harmonizer, who jumps in when things get a little tense. And the gatekeeper, and this one is so important, the person who makes a point to invite the quieter members to share their thoughts. These roles are all about keeping the team healthy and connected.
And then you've got the derailers, the individual roles. These are the actions that serve one person's ego at the expense of the entire group. We've all seen them, right? The recognition seeker who needs all the credit, the dominator who steamrolls every conversation, and the joker who constantly yanks the team off topic. Sound familiar? Yeah, I thought so. So all of this brings us to a really simple, powerful formula for success. The healthiest and most effective groups are the ones that consciously make space for task and social roles to flourish while actively and quickly shutting down those individual self-serving ones.
Okay, awesome. We've covered groups versus teams and the roles people play. Now let's dive into the group's operating system. Those invisible forces of rules, norms, and power that quietly dictate how everyone behaves.
So rules are the obvious ones. They're explicit, they're stated, like all meetings start at 3:05 sharp. And if you break a rule, there's usually a formal consequence. Norms, on the other hand, are the unwritten, unspoken expectations. Just think about how in a regular meeting, people tend to sit in the exact same seat every time. It's not a rule anywhere, but everyone just knows.
And here's another fantastic little diagnostic tool for you. If you're ever not sure whether something is a rule or a norm, just ask yourself this. If I break this, do I get an official penalty, or do I just get some serious side-eye from everyone else in the room? That'll tell you everything you need to know.
Now, tangled up in all these rules and norms is the idea of power. And it's not just about who the boss is. See, influence comes from all kinds of places. Your official title gives you legitimate power, sure, but just being liked and admired, that gives you referent power. Being the person who knows their stuff, that's expert power. And of course, there's the power to give rewards, or on the flip side, the power to punish.
All right, let's shift gears and talk about something a little less structured, but just as important: the emotional climate of the group. We're talking about the group vibe, or as researchers call it, cohesion. This is a big one.
So what exactly is cohesiveness?
Well, it's that feeling of attraction and loyalty that members have for the group and for each other. It's that essential we feeling. It's the emotional glue that makes people actually want to show up, contribute, and stick together when things get tough.
But, and this is a huge but, cohesion by itself is not enough, not even close. A group with low cohesion is always going to have problems. But even a super cohesive group with no focus on the actual task, well, you just have a really fun social club that doesn't produce much. The real magic, the absolute peak performance, only happens when you combine that strong we feeling with an intense focus on the task at hand. That's the secret sauce.
And you know, a key driver of that vibe, it's all in how you talk. It isn't just that you communicate, it's how you do it. When anyone can talk to anyone else, what we call an all-channel network, that boosts cohesion. But when communication is rigid and only flows from the top down, it can absolutely crush that vibe.
Okay, we've arrived at the final piece of our toolkit. We've looked at the structure, the roles, the rules, and the vibe. Now let's look at the actual journey, the predictable, natural path a group follows whenever it has to make a decision. And this journey almost always follows a predictable pattern with 4 phases. It starts with orientation, everyone getting their bearings. Then it moves into conflict, and I really need to emphasize this. Conflict, debate, and disagreement are a normal, healthy, and necessary part of the process. So many teams hit this phase and think they're failing, but they're not. It's only by working through that conflict that a group can move to the emergence phase, where decision starts to take shape, and finally to reinforcement, where everyone gets behind the final choice. It's a natural life cycle.
So, there you have it. From telling the difference between a group and a team, to spotting the hidden roles, to understanding the invisible forces of rules and power, the entire toolkit for understanding what makes a team successful is now yours. So the only question left is, how are you going to use it to change your team's dynamic?